Okay, great. So thank you so much for being here. So this presentation is going to be like a kind of book format. So I have like, introduction about the author, then I have chapters. So I hope you don't mind that. This is the first time I'm using this type of font for presentation, so I don't know how it's going to look in this huge screen. So about me. So I'm Victor Diaz. I really love open source and open knowledge, and this is basically what it drives me in life. I consider myself as a researcher, although sometimes it's difficult to say in what. As I said before, I have a nomadic life. Can I have the screen here? I cannot see it here. Yeah. Thank you so much. So this is me. This is the way I used to work. And I'm working. I usually work in really messy spaces, sometimes not really comfortable. But I really love those because somehow you need some random inputs in your life, and randomness, I think, gives you those inputs to be creative. So the prologue. The first thing, I think you might notice already, English is not my first language, so please, you will see that I will have a lot of errors while I'm speaking. Then what I'm going to say here, it doesn't represent my employer. All the pictures I found with the author are written in them. If not, if you know the author, please let me know. And then if you have a question during the presentation, please ask me during it. Yeah, my opinions are, of course, not the absolute truth, so please be critical with everything I'm saying, okay? So I would love that you would think that, oh, this is not correct, and that's nice because we can engage a conversation. Yeah, so the first chapter, randomness. So some time ago, I started to do crazy things with fonts. I was living at that time in Budapest, working in a crazy lab called Kitchen Budapest. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to be experiencing reusing fonts in a different way. And I basically, during 1 month, I was doing an experiment per day. This is one of those. Yeah, more or less. So the reason why I did that is that at that time, a lot of people were, all the time discussing about, I got this new Galaxy whatever phone with dual core or quad core, whatever. My phone has a better camera than yours and so on. And then I thought, wow, mine can slide faster than yours. Then I started to do other things. This is more I experimented in how can you transform your phone into something else.
Once again, they pay you for that.
Now, yes. Yeah, not at that time. This is another one. At that time, I only had 4 phones. Now I have like few dozens to experiment with. This is a weekend project I did with a friend of mine. I can answer you now again. They didn't pay me for this. So chapter 2 is the chicken or the egg. Or I would say technology or humans. So this is the normal evolution picture that you can find in the internet right now. I think it's pretty accurate. There is something that you might notice, and it's like, at the point when we are starting to transition to a human, we get something, and we have a tool, we have a piece of technology. Basically, for me, there are people who argue about that this is a philosophical topic, but many people agree that technology is what makes us human, for the good and the bad. And sometimes as well, we forget that those things are pieces of technology. Like sometimes people forget, there are many people who say, oh, I don't like technology. You are using technology every day. A fork is a piece of technology, a pencil is a piece of technology, a canvas, clothes, processes of creating things, that's technology. And people forget about that. And for me, I'm gonna be focusing more now in electronics, the technology that we make electronic, that have like a electronic behavior. I could categorize them in 3, I would say 4, but I'm gonna just mention 3 categories. The first one is like technologies, electronic technologies that have a long lifespan and can be, you know, well, this guitar is not electronic, but you might imagine that it is an electric guitar. Then you have medium, short lifespan, and then you have quite short lifespan. And it's a phone. The phones are super, they last really, really, really short. So we go to the next chapter, A Brave New World. This summer, I was really shocked when, during the Google I/O, I wasn't there, sadly, but I was watching the streaming, and then they announced that they were having 1.6 million Android activations per day, which is really shocking. If you do some maths, it's around 620 million devices per year, but I'm gonna round it up. If you think about the average use of a phone, we dispose them, we throw them away every 2 years. Yeah, you might think, oh, not me, or not my mother. Yeah, it's okay. But I think some people throw them every 3 or 4 years. Some other people even replace them every year, or even every 6 months. So the average is around 2 years. So that means that we are throwing away around 1,200 million, not devices, I would say Android devices every 2 years. If you count other companies, other manufacturers, other operating systems, the number increases so much more. So this number for me is really shocking. If you think about this, I mean, it's a huge number. You cannot imagine how many devices. I don't think you can fit this whole theater with all the phones that we are throwing every 2 years. The thing is, like 2 days ago, I was reading that it's not 1.6 million. Basically, they are activating right now in Android 2.7 million Android devices per day, which is crazy. Yeah, and this makes me sad. And Android too. So just to give you some little more math, imagine that in the EU we live around for around 10 years and 8 years, sorry, and then we get a phone in our 50s, which is not true because people get them now even before. And then if you do some maths, then we are throwing this number, 16,477 million phones only in Europe during our lifetime. And if we count, imagine that all the people in the world that we are right now, like around 7,000 million people, we will have a smartphone, and during our lifetime, we would be throwing this amount of phones, which is crazy. It's like really crazy. I think we never, as human beings, we've been throwing away in this fast pace any other piece of technology. So next chapter. This I name it after a really good documentary. I recommend you. It's called like that, Trashing by Trashing, or something like that. I'm going to introduce two concepts here. Who knows what is planned obsolescence and perceived obsolescence. Do you know that concept? No? So planned obsolescence is when basically a company creates a product to be broken after a certain time. It's really well known the case of the HP printers, that they include a chip that basically limits you the amount of pages that you can print during the lifetime of the printer. That's really well documented. Some Russian hacker discovered that chip, and he made a tweak on how to disable that functionality. And basically, you just have to do some soldering, and then you could disable this functionality that this brand included in their printers. The other one is, for example, the light bulbs. It's the same thing. Like we have to replace them every, I don't know, 5, 10 years. But in fact, it's because they are made for that, to be broken. There is a really famous light bulb in the United States that has a webcam, and it's been recorded for many, many years, because the light bulb has been working for already 100 years or more. And what is perceived obsolescence? Perceived obsolescence is basically when it's like fashion. You buy some clothes, and then the next year we have a new fashion, and then your clothes look old. That's perceived obsolescence. There is something really funny. I found this graph of some researcher, I think from Stanford, if I remember, and she had some plots, and this, for me, was quite shocking. In this one, she used Google Trends to compare two searches. One was iPhone slow, and then she correlated with the time where a new iPhone was released. So if you see, like, people were searching for iPhone slow a bit before or during the new release of an iPhone, it doesn't mean that Apple is an evil company and then they slow down on purpose the phone. It doesn't mean that. It means as well that we as users, when we see something new, we think, whoa, now my phone looks really, really slow. Oh, I need a new one. Because, yeah, maybe I have too much things in my phone and too many apps, and it slows down and everything, and the new one looks super fast. So this is, as I said, perceived obsolescence as well. Now I'm going to be showing you, this is not going to be only a story, it's going to be as well, I'm going to do some demos, and I'm going to be showing a bit what is Protocoder. Protocoder is an open source, MIT licensed framework, an IDE, tool, you name it, where basically it allows you to prototype, create things in a quite fast way for Android. It's focused on creativity. It's really expressive. It takes 1 minute to set up. Yeah, I said that it's kind of fast to create things with it. Another thing, I don't know if you saw the pictures. I like them. It's like usually I take a picture for every release that somehow depicts my life during this time frame. Protocoder is a pocketable IDE, basically something that you carry all the time in your phone. It's not cloud-based. I don't believe in the cloud, because clouds tend to disappear somehow, and then the sun comes. This project I started with a tour. We call it Make with Moto Tour, and it basically was a research project with now called Google ATAP, related to the ARA project, this modular phone that Google is making. This is me. This was the tour. This is me, the guy with the guitar. They told me, hey, you're Spanish. Here, you have a guitar. And he's like, I don't know how to play it. It doesn't matter. Just hold it. OK. I'm going to do a bit of showing time. I'm going to show you how it works. Who is here? Who knows a bit of coding here? Can you raise your hand? Yeah, I think it's good. If you don't know, it's OK. It's fine. So I'm going to go here. You can see my phone, my hand. Perfect. So basically, you launch Protocoder, which is here. It's basically an app, an APK that you install from the web. And then you get an application, really basic. And at the bottom, you get, I don't know if you can see it here, but you get an IP address. Right now, I'm having my laptop and my phone connected to the same Wi-Fi network. So basically, I'm going to write that IP address in my browser. I think it's, no, not this one. This takes a bit the first time. OK, load it. So basically, I just loaded an ID directly from my phone, Wi-Fi. You can use as well with some tricks. You can use USB. But this is kind of the easy to start with. So you have here basic ID interface with some reference, the typical buttons that you might encounter in a normal IDE. This is pretty basic, I know. And then you have projects. And the first thing you might notice is like it comes with a lot of examples. Of course, right now I have a lot of projects that I've made. And one thing that is really cool is that it's directly linked the phone to the ID in the web browser. So for example, if I overlay here, you see it overlays my app on the phone. So I know what I'm checking. If I go to examples, then automatically change to examples. So it's directly connected. What does it mean? It means that, for example, when I open an example here, the example is being grabbed directly from the phone. So I have the phone, and then I can write code, and I can execute code. So in this case, I'm going to, for example, open the camera example. You might notice that this is JavaScript. It's JavaScript, but internally it's running Android, Java. Basically, I have an interpreter that translates JavaScript to Java, and then I have an API where I simplify a lot of things. So in this case, I'm saying, OK, add a camera, then let's add a button, and then when I click the button, I'm going to take a picture. And then I'm going to console log it. And then I'm going to run it. So I run it. And then I have my camera. If I do this, I don't know if you can see. You can see yourselves. And I'm going to press take pic. So I took a picture. I don't know if you've noticed. It appeared here. This is where the files of the project are. And there is something funny. The picture, I think it's because I increased the size. Oh, it's here. The picture as well appears in the console. Because it's HTML5, you can console log anything you want. So one of the cool things is like, I just made a camera app, but I can modify it really fast. So basically, I can close it. I can change the size. I'm going to do a micro camera. And then I run it. And then I have a tiny camera. That's all, super easy. It has a lot of things. It has ways to work with sensors. It has support for every sensor that Android supports. So I can go here, press run, and then I see all the sensors running. You see, to use a sensor is basically these lines of code. That's almost nothing. You know, in Android, sensors are not that difficult, but I think like, you know, few dozen lines you have to write. For the camera that I used before, like you need like few more, like few hundreds. It has like a lot of things that you might need. Of course, I'm gonna emphasize that this is not for making business apps or something like that. This is more for prototyping, for tinkering, for playful experimentation. So, for example, you have sound. You can see, for example, a cat meowing. But it has another thing really cool in Protocoder. It has a thing where you basically can execute code whenever you want without having to close or open the application. So in this case, for the demo, I'm gonna get the instance of the variable. I'm gonna assign the button to a variable. I'm gonna close and open. And then the first thing I'm gonna do, just to show you, I have a shortcut where I can live execute parts of code. So for example, if I press this shortcut, I can do this. Or for example, if I don't like this button there, I can say UI.move button, and I'm gonna move it to this position. And it's gonna do this. Or, oh, maybe I don't like it there. Maybe I like it more like this. Sorry. A bit more down. For example. So I didn't close and open the app. I just live executed. So this, you might use it for many things. You might use it for UI design, for just exploring to, for example, check sounds. You just drag and drop the sounds here in this box, and you can play them immediately. You don't have to recompile the code, or I don't know if you use Android with Eclipse, with Android Studio, or any other frameworks that sometimes is really frustrating just to play around with it. Like you just include a file, and then you realize, oh, this is not the sound. I have to recompile it again. Or then you see, oh, this is not the text I wanted to show here. This is really annoying, especially when you are trying to explore something new. Because when you are exploring something new, you don't want to lose time in trivial stuff. You want to focus. You want to do something, see what happens, and then, oh, I don't like it. Then I move forward to something else. Or, oh, I like how it looks. OK, let's push it a bit more. So Protocoder is about that. It's about trying to, experimenting in many ways. For that, I have a lot of libraries. I have sound engines. I have libraries where you can connect Arduinos in a really simple way, or Bluetooth devices, or have a lot of things. There's one thing I'm going to show you before continuing. It has something called dashboard. And dashboard is something that basically you have here, and then the IDE has a dashboard that overlays, and then I can modify things. I can change text, I can add a plot, I can update the plot, and then everything is controlled by the phone. So it's really good when, for example, you have the phone somewhere else and you want to interact with it. So you can program it, and then with this dashboard, for example, if I press here, then it's going to say something here. It's going to show a toast. So I'm going to do a little project. It's going to be really easy. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to look here for add for a button, include it here, and I'll say press me 0, 0. Everything is absolute positioning. So I don't know more or less how it's going to be. Let's see how it looks. OK, a bit bigger. And then I'm going to have a counter, 0. And then I'm going to say, forgot how is it? Text to speech. Where is it? It's media, text to speech. And then I'm going to say counter plus plus. So I think
0, 1.
OK, it's working. 2. So this I'm going to do it for public petition. Some people asked me to do it again. I did it in Krakow. So OK, so I'm going to put it here.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13.
OK. I'm going to continue. I stopped with the demo. I did already my showman part. OK, so I had this just in case it was breaking. I'm going to introduce another concept now in this chapter. I'm going to introduce the concept of upcycling. I guess you are familiar already with recycling, reusing, but maybe upcycling is a bit stranger term for us. And upcycling is basically the process of taking something, some different object or tool or technology or something that had a life before and reusing it in a different way. So upcycling is something that you might have seen that many times. Is basically taking something and converting it into something else. Especially in design, in furniture, there is a lot about that. But there is something missing. And is that I haven't seen so much of doing the same, like repurposing stuff of digital technology. And digital technology is something that we live every day with them. And then we are creating so much more trash than with any other technology that humans have been creating. For me, it's really important to think, oh, how can we repurpose those phones? And for me, this is why I'm continuing to work on Protocoder, because Protocoder for me is a way of experimenting how can I recycle or repurposing or upcycling these technologies. So I don't know, maybe this is really small. I'm going to be showing how can we do it in from different perspectives. So the first one is as a user. That's really easy. You just go to any search engine. You just write how to reuse your phone. And then you have, sorry for this, you have answers that say, well, basically they say, OK, so you can just take it to a garbage collector, or you can just use it as a home system, music system, or you can use it as a video game console, or you can just give it to your kids so they can play around with them. Or some other people say, oh, just put it in your drawer. Which I guess many of you will have many devices in your drawers, isn't it? Yeah. There is the most simple thing is just, OK, I'm going to take it to a company that takes care of my electronics. So that's really funny, because I've checked many websites, many companies that they do this. And then all of them, they have the same workflow. They always say, OK, so we get your phone. Then we are going to check if it works. If it works, we are going to sell it again in the same country or in a similar country. Then if not, if something is broken, I'm going to try to reuse some parts. Especially they always say, oh, it's the screens, because are the things that they break the most, or cameras. They try to recycle those things. If not, what they do is they throw them away, or if it's an old phone, they basically take them to emerging countries, and then they take the phones that they have there, and they take them back to Europe, and then basically they extract the gold, and then they get profit. But there is a problem with that. I think the most valuable part of a phone is the gold. But the gold has a problem, is that if you want to extract it, if you want to get it from a phone, you have to use a very harmful process for the environment. It's something that you have to use a lot of chemicals to extract the gold, almost nothing of gold from a really big part. So basically the rest, you are polluting the environment in a really big way. But at least recycling is something we are doing. I don't think it's the solution, but I think it's one step to keep in the right way. Yeah, as I said, most of the time it's not our problem, because we send the things, they stay there, we forget, we live happy here in the first world. I don't know if you've been to other countries, Africa or Asia, especially where they throw all the electronics. I've been, and it's crazy. It's something that when you see all this trash everywhere, because they don't have containers, in many places they don't collect the trash, and you see electronics everywhere, or trash everywhere, and that's really sad to see. So another way that we can use it is, now there is a really big movement of makers and doers, and there is a lot of people reusing phones for something else. You might, for example, get a Raspberry Pi and use it for, OK, I'm going to create my own theme, but you might think, oh yeah, my old phone has kind of the same thing as the Raspberry Pi, plus the battery, plus the screen. Oh, maybe I can do things. And now, it's getting easier to plug more sensors and motors. You can plug an Arduino to a phone, and then you can do more things. I'm going to be showing a couple of videos that I did during the workshop yesterday of people who joined it. And this one is really funny. It's a little robot made out of one phone, just a battery holder and an Arduino and 2 motors. Really simple. They made this robot in, I would say, after we did all the exercises and I showed them how to use the Protocoder, well, in fact, they told me, you have to say that I made it in 30 minutes. So yeah, they made it in 30 minutes, this one. And then there is another one. This is really funny. So this has a phone. Well, they are controlling it, I think, with the phone.
Okej, sterowanie. O.
Quite funny. So there is another question that I always think about. So how could we, if, for example, imagine that somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm giving you 1,000 million funds. Do something with it. What would you do? It's like crazy, isn't it? Like, we always think in terms of one computer device, but not in terms of millions. And, you know, maybe we could reuse these things and make grids of things. Maybe it's even economically wise, make a Bitcoin farm with 1 million devices than just extracting the gold from them. Who knows? So those are a few things I've seen. There are many more that the industry or researchers are making. So for example, this is the one on top on the right. There is a really nice project by some guys who made a device for diagnosing vision problems in countries where they don't have the technology, like these really big equipments that you need to check the sight of people. Then I saw this one is really cool. These guys who basically they are gathering thousands of phones, attaching them solar panels and placing them in the Amazon forest to check if there is people doing illegal activities. So basically they use the microphone to detect if somebody is with the SOA, and at that moment, if they detect something, they send an alert to somebody to go there and stop the people cutting the trees. Then this one, you might be aware of it. This is the phone blocks, or Project Ara is very similar in concept, where people, rather than throwing away the phone every year, they just might, for example, replace one module. That's really interesting, but I think, in my opinion, it might occur the opposite thing. Like, rather than using less technology, we are going to throw more things. Imagine like releasing new cameras every 6 months, and then you are, oh yeah, new camera, and now this new model, and then this new module, and then you end up with hundreds of modules at home. There are many people who love technology, isn't it? Then there is this other one that is similar in concept. It's a modular phone, but only for the CPU and so on, and the camera. But they introduce a really, really nice concept. I really like this concept. That basically they said, okay, you have the phone, and then you upgrade the CPU and so on. But maybe you can take that thing out and then put it in one place, and then make like a bigger computer, like with like a parallel computer, a server to compute things. So maybe you can take just the module, poof, insert it in this slot, and then you upgrade your computer. I think it's quite a nice concept. And then there is this project called Fairphone. I don't know if you heard about it. I think it's really amazing what they are doing. It's basically they want to create a phone that is fair in many senses, in the ways of, okay, we are using materials that people are collecting in decent conditions, or workers and assembling it with a decent salaries and so on. And they are trying, they know that it's really difficult, but what they are doing really amazingly is that they are documenting everything. They document all the processes, and then you can read all their experiences. It's more than a company. They as well, they say that they are more kind of research. It's a research company, it's a research project, and I think it's really interesting to have it into account. Then I'm going to continue with the industry part. I think like many companies are really afraid of changing the business model. Like, oh, like for example, a big phone company, they are used to release new phones every year, but they don't think about, oh yeah, I don't want to release a phone every year, maybe every 2, or maybe we can create technology where after the person have been using the phone, they can remove some part and use it for something else. I think, in my opinion, like we as citizens, we have to somehow enforce or create laws to enforce those companies to have devices that can be more recyclable. Or I think this is a bit complex, because many of them, they will say, oh yeah, but if we create less technology, then we cannot progress so much, and we cannot create new technology. But I think we haven't tried that yet, and I think it might occur that the new businesses might start. This, yeah, you read it. Continuing. This is for me something really important. Like sometimes it's not about hardware. Sometimes it's as well we as developers, where, for example, there is Google that release new certain APIs, and then you say, oh, I don't care about the rest. I'm just gonna create my app that looks super good in the last version of Android. Or we are gonna add this library that does this thing, or this functionality that add this thing. And this is something to have into account, because sometimes, you know, we are somehow contributing to people to kind of change phone more rapidly. For example, there are applications that are really heavy, and every day that you have an update, you are, oh, maybe no, it's gonna get more heavy, this thing. You never know. So there is a few things I'm gonna mention. I'm gonna finish soon. There is something that the industry doesn't do because it's really difficult for them, but as hackers, they are doing really awesome projects, and I would recommend you to check out these two, MER and Hybris. And Hybris is a library that can reuse certain binaries that they are using Android phones and reuse them for other operating systems. So basically, you can take an Android phone and then put another operating system without having to force the manufacturer to give you the binary blobs, the drivers. And MER is an operating system based on Linux. I'm gonna go directly why I put the open source logo there. I think open source, it's really amazing in the sense that most of the open source projects, the big ones, they make software that they have a long life span than commercial proprietary software. Like you create a free software, an open source software, and then the community itself kind of manage that project to make it work in all devices. As organizations, there is something for me really important. I was working as a teacher some years ago, and at that time I wanted to reuse all phones to teach my students how to do things with smartphones. And then I asked people, oh, can I get all phones from you? I went to few conferences. I put advertisements everywhere, like donate your phones for education. I got zero. Zero. Like nobody wanted to donate their own phone. And I think this is important because we could just get our old phones donated to schools where most of the time public schools, they don't have enough money. And then you can be teaching, for example, kids how to experiment, how those devices work, or even break them to see how the things are inside. Another thing that might be interesting for organizations is try to connect the 6 next billion people to the grid. And then there is something for me interesting. I guess you heard about the OLPC, the one laptop per child. And I think it would be really awesome to have the one smartphone per person with a Wikipedia. I call it like that. So basically, imagine in 1 year we are disposing like around 1,000 million devices, smartphones. So imagine that you put a copy of a small reduced copy of a Wikipedia on a smartphone, and you give to whatever company, continent that you want in an emerging markets. And then in 1 year, you have them, all of them, will reduce the gap between emerging markets and the first world. This is something, I'm gonna be ending with this almost. Just remember that these two phones, although they are really different, that this is they have different resolutions. Of course, this one has better camera, better screen, and so on. Think about it like how it improved in, I don't know, 7 years, 6 years. It does the same thing. Just think about it. It does exactly the same thing. There is nothing new out there, but we somehow keep changing the phone all the time. This is how the containers they look now, but maybe in the future they are going to look like this. Maybe without the Windows Phone logo, because there are not so many Windows phones. But yeah, imagine maybe in a future there. What?
We will be throwing a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, just to finish, I'm going to say you like think twice when you trust or get a new phone. Try to contribute to open source and open knowledge. because open knowledge and open software lives forever, while proprietary things you never know. Protocoder. Think about really big human problems. Not only we love technology and we love even to do our little things in our little world, but sometimes it's nice to say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna try to get out of this and start thinking about what we need in the humanity, in the world. Maybe some people might think that this was like a bit hippie presentation or something like that, but going greener doesn't mean being a radical. I'm really like progress, and I love to research, and I really like to keep advancing in technology, but as well we have to be conscious about the things we are doing. Education is key. It's really important. Please donate your funds. Thank you so much for the organizers. It's really awesome, and how the people here are organizing the whole conference and how well I was received here. Thank you to all of you for coming here.
Thank you for your presentation. I especially like the part when you were talking about the Wikipedia for everyone. And this is an ongoing project?
No, it's not. I'm now talking with different people, like with different organizations, to kind of push those things, but still is nothing. I mean, I just wanted to somehow, as I told you, many of the things here are just my vision. I just want to throw it out there and hear what you think. So I would love to, if you grab me at some point in the main area, discuss about those things, because many of you, I guess, maybe don't agree, or some of you have other ideas, or maybe some of you would say, oh yeah, let's do that, and I say, yeah, let's do it. So this is why I wanted to do this talk.
I think that this idea is mind-blowing. We have a time for 2-3 questions. Okay, the first one. You'll be the next one.
Does Protocoder
Yeah.
work with one computer set up on multiple phones?
Um,
Can you execute to multiple phones?
So right now I'm using Protocoder as a meta tool for creating my own tools. Yeah, you can do that. I've been programming at the same time 20 phones, just pressing, and you see all of them running. So yeah, it might be possible. I'm gonna be releasing a new version in 1 month that I'm changing quite a lot of the API, and I'm gonna be releasing these bits of code to do those things. So if you check the GitHub repository, you will see them at some point.
Hi, probably some of the Android activations are from tablets. Did you experiment with tablets? How they differ from experimenting with phones? How do you see this?
I think virtually is the same thing. The only thing is that they lack more communication capabilities, isn't it? So yeah, it might differ. For example, if you want to create for example, you could just take a phone and reuse it as an Internet of Things, something. No, this is really hyped right now, and the phone is really cool because it has GPRS, they have UMTS, and all these protocols. The tablet lack of all of this, but I think virtually they are exactly the same thing. They run the same operating system. There is something I wanted to mention is like one of the problems that we have to repurpose or reuse all technology is basically the operating system. The operating system, like both Android or iOS or even Windows Phone, they are made, although they are really powerful and they are really nice for what we use them for, but they are not nice for other things. So, for example, there would be a really lot of people who would take their phone and reuse it into something else if we could remove Android and install a minimum bare Linux in them and use the libraries that all the scientists, industries, and so on use.
Okay, and we have a time for last question. There isn't one.
Okay.
So thank you very much,
Yeah.
Victor.
Thank you to you.